Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Wednesday. I was asked to do a presentation to kick off our student services video series this summer, so I will start this off with the results of the survey sent out from the parents and students. The majority of people were interested in setting limits, irritability, and also effects of video gaming, and how to deal with that during the wonderful COVID time that we're in. So first of all, I want to mention that one of the things we know, researchers are saying that we can expect irritability to be higher, and it makes sense. People are kind of stuck with each other for long periods of time. They obviously can get irritated with one another much easier than normal. So what we know is the best way to deal with irritability is empathy. In other words, not trying to fix the situation for the other person, but being with them, understanding that things have changed, and we've all had a lot of changes over the past few months. So I'd like to start out with that point, that to understand, especially teenagers, they are more irritable by design because everything is so dramatic to them. So we can expect them to have more irritability than adults, hopefully. I was trying to think about how to present this. It'll only be a short video, so I wanted to give you a little bit of neurobiology, if you will. And to start with the prefrontal cortex, we know when teenagers hit puberty that prefrontal lobe, which is responsible for long-term planning and reasoning capabilities, the synapses grow like weeds, and they overtake that prefrontal cortex. So that's why things are so dramatic. There's other connections in the brain that cause that as well, but the prefrontal cortex is long-term thinking. So if these synapses are intertwined and all mixed up, it just makes us respond more suddenly, and things seem worse than they are. And there's a natural process that starts in that area of the brain. It occurs in various areas of the brain, but during puberty in particular, the pruning occurs in the frontal cortex. And the pruning is the process of kind of like weeding the garden. It just by nature will slowly trim those synapses and get them more orderly, if you will, so they're firing more directly, and that's why we can make more sense of things rather than having everything all over the place. So, and this happens starting at puberty. That's why junior high is such a bear, those ages there, because it's just kind of the first time they're experiencing the, oh my God. And then we know that this process actually doesn't end up until about 4 years ago. It was 26 years of age is when the pruning is supposedly completed. But that also now we know going to go on until 29 years of age. And if something occurs during the process, whether it's concussions, excessive concussions, viral infection, accidents, literally damage, addictions, extensive use of substances that can affect the pruning process as well. So we may see some adults look like teenagers, actually. So this process goes on, and we want to understand that so that we understand the reaction of teens in this time. One way we can help pruning and speed up that process is through open-ended questions. Asking, what did you mean by that? What caused that? What made you think that? And a lot of times the response is going to be, I don't know. But they will process that later, and it kind of starts to connect reasons with behavior. And then hopefully they learn from that and then don't have to redo the same experience if it's a negative one. And if it's a positive one, we want them to know, when I do this, this happens. So that's great. Video games, obviously we know that video games, like anything that can be addictive, and almost anything can be addictive if used, you know, abused, if you will. And that's the dopamine release that occurs from video gaming. It's exciting. It feels good. You win, and so um, video gaming is actually considered to be a positive experience for kids, especially kids with various issues like ADHD, things like that, because they can kind of focus and get everything in one spot, if you will, and they can win, which is huge for people that aren't used to doing that. And of course, we're concerned about limitations. Anything that is abused can create that dopamine release, and then all of a sudden there's a need for it, a physical need. So one method to use to deal with that I always highly recommend is family discussions. I suggest them one time a week, that the families actually sit down and talk about how are things going, and if the video gaming is really taking up too much time, then that should, number one, be talked about and see if it can be corrected through conversation, and then the following week a checkup to see how everything's going. By the way, what we know now with this COVID situation, that kids, it's so important for teenagers to socialize, and it's been taken away, or it was, especially before they could go outside. So what we know is that a lot of the researchers are suggesting that to expect kids to be on social media more, a bit more during this time. But we still need to set a structure, especially if it's affecting sleep. Now there's a sidebar here. If you're sleeping, the teen brain needs 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and sometimes they'll sleep longer. Their body and mind are changing so much during this time. So it's not to fear. What we want to look at is, are they able to function in other areas of their life? If they're sleeping, a lot of teens stay up later at night, and we know through all sorts of research that they function better starting later in the morning. And so if they're staying up late at night and then sleeping late in the morning, if they're getting up and they're successfully completing their chores, their tasks, and they have some structure and something to do, and things are going well, not to worry. However, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but for another time, maybe discussion of what to do come July and August to prepare for return to school and getting that sleep pattern back in order. So it is important to realize that video games have value, and also can they can become addictive per se. It was just a few years ago that the World Health Organization actually came up with video game addiction, but it's not entered in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders. It's been considered but not entered. So we want to make sure we address it, but in a firm way. And by firm way, I want to just kind of get to the end of my presentation here with setting limits. The family discussions are where the limits should be set ahead of time rather than reactive. That we set the structure for the week, we see how it's going the next week, and if it's not working, we tweak it. If somebody's just ignoring or refusing, then there has to be consequences. Just an example would be, okay, this week, if you're on social media more than our agreed upon time, then you lose the privileges for 24 hours. And just something, say what you mean what you say, so that the kids are aware of what's going on. And by the way, this video is going out for the students too, because we want you to know this information about the brain. We want you to know about the limit setting and what we know is helpful. So you can be part of setting the structure up in your own house with your family. And so I could go on and on and on, but I think that's good. What I'd like to do is give you my email address. I'm not in the school all the time, so it's tpallardy@stlawrence.com. Feel free to email me if I can help in any way. And I hope that you have a great day. All right, take care and feel free to reach out if I can help in any way. I hope this summer's awesome and look forward to seeing everybody in the fall. Sure miss everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye.